Well, good morning, everyone. Please make sure that you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, and also that you can see the shared PowerPoint. Everything should be fine. All right, thank you so much. All right, so welcome to financial aid time and scholarship time. We are in the midst of it, and starting soon will be the financial aid application from the federal government. So I'll go into this in detail now. Um, this presentation is recorded, so I will post that on our newsletter tonight that we get at 7 p.m. every Friday. But meanwhile, we'll be talking about the finding money for college and or career school. So both of them will be the same. Money to pay for college or career school. So what is financial aid? So we usually use the term financial aid when it comes to the federal student aid, but it also can be any types of financial aid. And that includes grants. Grants, generally speaking, we have the Pell Grant. These are free money. We tell the students free money, meaning that they don't have to repay that. We have work study. Work study is a money that will be coming into for the students as a paycheck, if you want, meaning that the students actually have to find a job on campus or outside the campus, depending on how the campus agreements are with the other companies. Will have to find a job on campus and get paid every 2 weeks, like a general staff. Um, that money can be just for the students for some type of spending money for food or anything like that, books, or if they want to just use it for toward the tuition. But generally speaking, this goes as a paycheck. Loans, obviously, loans are something that you have to repay, and they will be offered to you as a default by the universities. But it is up to you. So the ball is in your court. It is up to you to accept the loans. If you feel like you have a gap, could be an opportunity for you to apply and obtain the loans. They're already given to you, but you have to do some extra steps to finalize the loan application. Scholarships, obviously, those are not to repay. They're free money as well, and scholarships can come from different entities. The main ones are when students apply to the college. They are generally automatically selected or considered, I should say, for scholarships based on their GPA, SAT, or other type of criteria that they require. There's also scholarships that are from outside entities. So wealthy, wealthy people in the area might be giving out some money to students going to college, etc. So all of that is part of the scholarships. So who can get federal student aid? So this is an important factor. U.S. citizens, national or eligible non-citizens. So those are hold a green card, high school diploma or equivalent. So this is an important thing. So if a student doesn't graduate, obviously they will not receive federal student aid. They can receive federal student aid for any eligible degree or certificate program at a college or career school. So this is an important aspect. I always ask the student to get to either a trade school or some very specific school. Cosmetic is usually the one that I get to talk to students about. Make sure that they accept financial aid for a certain degree or certificate. Sometimes the institution will change and say that they don't want to use financial aid for certificates. So make sure you double check that with the institution. In order to obtain the federal student aid, a student has to have a social security number. Not necessarily the parents. Now things have changed for the 24-25 FAFSA. As you may have heard, is a big change going on. The student has to have a social security number, but the parents don't need to have one. If they don't have a social security number, it's fine, but the student has to have one. Now, satisfactory academic progress in college and career school. Yes, students get to the college they complete their first semester, and they receive a GPA, they receive a final grades of their classes, that has to be at a certain standard of the college academic progress. And that's when the college decides to renew the federal financial aid, as well as some scholarships. So it is important for the students that even if they receive scholarships and federal student aid, they have to make sure to continue to have a good GPA as they continue to their college semesters and so on. So every semester or every year, again, depends on the university's policy, they check the GPA of the students and allow for the federal student aids to disperse the money into the student's account to pay for the classes that semester. So who can get other kinds of financial aid? So state colleges and private scholarships have their own eligibility criteria. So I asked for all of you to make sure to check, if you're going to go outside of Virginia, to make sure that you check on the state, the college, and also any type of private scholarships that they have. And also in Virginia. In Virginia, we offer the VTAG and the VGAP. So those are type of extra scholarships or grant, actually, that are given by the state of Virginia. One is for public schools, the other one is for private schools. I'm going to go quickly into stopping the presentation and jumping into SchoolLinks. As you remember, I did a quick presentation on SchoolLink at the beginning of the year. So right now we are into, I should be presenting to you right now. Right now, I am on a demonstration of a student. I am not in a real student, it's just a demo. So these are what the students see. On the left-hand side, you will see finances. And right now what I'm doing is that I'm going into what scholarships are available in our area. So this is valid for seniors. Sometimes you will have juniors being offered some scholarships. It's not all the time, but seniors should have started applying to some scholarships as we speak now. If you go into finances, it's going to be a scholarship matching and allowing the student to basically express their profile. I already done that. So it's actually making me go into what matches my profile and all the scholarships available in our area. You can dig deeper by going to district posted. It will pretty much be the same with a small variation. Okay, now let's just say that I want to apply for the Madison Small Foundation scholarships. I'm going to click on it. And I'm going to right away see what are the requirements. Looks like this is for Broad Run High School. So we're in Rock Ridge. Okay, so we're going to go and continue. So this doesn't apply. Jewel College Scholarship. Let's see, what about this one? Does it reflect my criteria? It's open to high school graduating seniors from Northern Virginia. So this is very general, and this is a great time to apply for that because it applies for everybody. So in order to apply, students would either click here or click on the link that they provide. And this is the application. So as soon as you start clicking, it's going to go into another screen, which is from the company or from the nonprofit organization or the foundation, in this case, Jewel College Scholarship. They might ask for so the application to be submitted. They want them to be scanned and require documents attached to the email. So all of these are criteria for the students to follow. The deadline is April 14. You can, in this case, finances tab, you can go by closest deadline and see which one is coming up. So I would suggest that a student spends about an hour every weekend, or even 2 hours, depending on how many scholarships they would like to apply, and go through those and select them and create a chart on the spreadsheet that shows which scholarships the student has applied, what are the deadlines, and if they have actually applied, they just put a checklist. So this is an important way to track the scholarships. So again, scholarships are out there. They are available. I've had people reaching out to me, telling me, hey, we have X amount of dollars and nobody has applied from Rockridge. That was last year. Right away, even though the scholarship information was out there for various time for all of you to see, students had not applied. So there's a stack of money available. Make sure that the students take advantage of that. All right. I am going to go back to the presentation. All right. How much federal student aid can I get? So this is a big question that a lot of us have. In general, it depends on your financial need. So in this case, and for this year, the financial need is determined by the SAI, so Student Aid Index, and the cost of attendance. So you're going to hear the cost of attendance a lot. It is basically a ceiling or an amount of what the cost is at the university. And the cost of attendance includes everything from tuitions, from fees, from room and board, from transportation sometimes. So they make a whole big picture. You may not need all these variables. You may not need a housing if a student is going nearby. You may not need, the food or the meal plan. All of that is something that you need to determine, but they give you a main general picture, and this is what is included in the determination of financial need. So I left EFC here, which is the expected family contribution. But for this year, the word EFC will change to SAI. So be aware of that. The cost of attendance includes tuition fees, room and board. So the way they determine is cost of attendance minus SAI, and that will be the financial need. At one point, and depending on the income of the family, you may have a negative answer or negative financial need, and that flags the university showing that this is a student that has an extreme need for financial aid. So there may be more grants being given. There may be more scholarships being given that are need-based. So we can talk about that later. So I'm going to talk about what was giving last year, 2023, 2024. We do not have the numbers yet, as everything is still being discussed. The maximum amounts for the major programs for dependent freshmen, dependent meaning that they are depending on you as far as the taxes. They're not 24, they don't have a child, or they're not going to the military. Federal Pell Grant is $7,395. This is for a full-time student. So we're talking about 12 credit hours to 15 credit hours a semester, about 4 to 5 classes a semester. This is the amount they will get per year. So if you want to find out how much they get for the semester, you will have to always divide that number by 2 for the fall and for the spring. They may be giving you money for the summer, but it is all depending on the student availability of funds left for that year. Same thing for the federal work study, depends on the funds available at the school. So the money that is given to the student, if they find a job, depends on how much the department has available to pay for a student. Now, as far as the subsidized and unsubsidized loan, if you want to I'll give you a quick snapshot of what the differences are. Direct subsidized, meaning that It's subsidized by the government, and the interests are paid by the government during the time the student is in college. After that, once they graduate, the interest start accruing, and the students will have to pay back at that point. Unsubsidized loan, the students start borrowing the loans. The interests are right away accrued, and they have to pay back right away whenever they have started borrowing. So subsidized loan is usually the one that students select because they don't have to repay until they graduate. Right now, the total is $5,500 for the year. Now, we have also the possibility for parents to take loans. I would say that this is the very, very, very last resort. The interests are pretty high. We're talking about 7%, and it's called a Direct Plus loan for parents. But again, is the last resort. You will also be liable on paying back the loans. If you want more details, studentaid.gov, this is a great area for you to get more information. So how much federal student aid can I get? So this is going to be an estimate. This is something that you can do. And I actually posted this on our newsletter for the past maybe 4 weeks. The collegecost.ed.gov, the net price calculator center is basically you enter your school that you plan on attending. So you can do several scenarios, and you will enter information related to your family economic situation. So anything that is about you, you can add this information. It takes about 10-15 minutes to complete, and it gives you an estimate on how much money you can possibly get. It is not 100% sure because there's many variables, but the FAFSA will be the most sure way of finding out. But that will give you an estimate before you start submitting the FAFSA. And this is open. You can do it anytime. Okay, so I was talking about the VTAG and the VGAP. So it depends on the program. Do your research again. The state of Virginia, the private universities use VTAG, and they give you about 4,500 renewable money or grant, and public use VGAP, and that depends on the need. So they will look at the FAFSA that has been submitted. You do not have to apply for that one. It goes automatically with the FAFSA. So you always have to ask your financial aid office at the university to make sure that there's nothing else that you can apply for if you have exhausted all options. So how do I apply for aid? Okay, so this is where we're going to go into little bit of issues because the federal government has not opened the FAFSA as we speak today. It will open by December 31st, according to them. We understand that this is very late for students that are applying, that have probably received a decision from college, and they're trying to make a decision. Now, remember, your decision will come around April before May 1st, May 1st being the National Decision Day. All universities in the United States are waiting for students to make a final decision or commitment to a university. And that is by May 1st. But because there are some transactions happening, paying for housing ahead of time, paying for the deposit, etc., make sure that you do that before May 1st. So mid or end of April, to make sure that you have your secured spot at the college that you've chosen. So we went into the scholarship on Schoollinks. Now, how do I apply for federal student aid? So I am going to go into the FSAID because the financial aid application itself has not opened yet. They are all urging us to make sure that parents and students have a FSAID, which is basically a federal student aid identification. It's username and password that is electronic and serves as your signature. It's secure signature for you to have, but you will have to create one. If you already have students that are in college at the moment and you have created one, it is okay. Keep that one. You don't have to create another one. but your senior will have to create one, and cannot be shared between the two of you. The email has to be a unique email. So if you decide to create an FSA ID that you don't have one before, you can't provide same email address for more than one person for FSA ID. That's because it's going to create a security issue, and your FSA ID would not be sent to you, and you will have to wait, and you'll have to call, etc. So the easiest way is to provide an email that is only unique to you, and you never use it twice. Now, don't tell anyone about your FSA ID. This is something that you keep between yourself. I will suggest that you write it down, or you keep it in the notes or some type of secure manner, because you may need to have that handy whenever it's time to apply for FAFSA. You'll need to gather some documents. I have an infographic here. Hopefully it's going to help me go, but I doubt that it's going to open it on the same. Let me see if I can get to that. Okay, it's not letting me open it. So basically, it's an infographic that is the FAFSA process in general and what type of documents you need in order to apply for FAFSA. Generally speaking, you're going to need your social security card. You will also need your IRS information or your tax documents that you filled 2 years ago. So we are applying for the 24-25 FAFSA cycle. You will have to have your taxes that you completed and filed in 2022. Okay, so they always go 2 years prior. That's been going on like that for a long time, but make sure that you have this handy. You may need to add this information manually, but for this year, they're asking the student to send you an email to confirm that you're the parent, one, and two, that you're able to link it with the IRS department. That is a backstage type of process. You're not going to see it. It should happen automatically if you have filed your taxes. Okay? Your address on the FAFSA has to match the address that you had on the 2022 taxes. So make sure of that. If that doesn't happen, make sure that you update some information within the FAFSA. Now, you're not going to do this alone, okay? If you have questions, we have a FAFSA workshop happening January 20th from 1 to 3. It's on a Saturday. So we'll have several financial aid administrators of different universities coming to help us to complete a FAFSA. So remember, you have to have an FSA ID when you come, and we will be completing the FAFSA directly on that day. I urge you to bring a charged laptop, whether it's yours or your student. Make sure you have one. We cannot provide any Chromebooks or any laptops. We really need to have that in order to complete the FAFSA. You will need to have the FSA ID. Make sure, I'm just repeating this because without the FSA ID, we cannot complete the FAFSA. And you coming to the workshop will be useless. So make sure that you have that handy. The FAFSA workshop is posted on a newsletter, so you can check it out again. And there's a registration link on there. Okay, so before I move on, and I'm thinking that I will leave the PowerPoint to you during, well, I'll post it on the newsletter because the next steps are basically the FAFSA itself for next year. And I'm going to go into a prototype later on. But I want to answer questions now before we move on. Okay, so we were talking about a new term. The SAI, yes, the SAI will be used. That will be the new one, SAI. You will have a new term as well. They're not going to call you parents. They're going to call you contributors. Contributors can be anything, can be parents, guardians, any people that are contributing as far as an income to the students and, you know, supporting the students more than 50% actually. Any other questions? I want to make sure I go on into the prototype for a little bit. The prototype is very limited, so I won't be going into much of a detail, but I have that recorded and PowerPoint posted on our website and on a newsletter tonight, so that way you can go over that. Also, I'm available at any time to make an appointment with me, one-on-one. We can go through the FAFSA itself, possibly in January, unfortunately. Well, the deposits are non-refundable. So, I mean, you could deposit, but you will be losing your money. It also depends on what kind of deposit you're doing. If you're doing early decision deposit, you got to be careful on that because you have probably signed a contract. But I'm sure Mr. Terry can weigh in on answering that question as well. Hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you all? Um, yeah, there are several types of deposits. There's a housing deposit that you might do. There might be initial tuition deposit. Um, and as Ms. Marchante said, if it's early decision, that's a binding agreement. That means your student is going there. If it's not ED, it's not uncommon for students to and families to make a deposit on, let's say, a school they got into, knowing that they're on a wait list someplace else and might get accepted. And so you just lose the deposit. A typical amount may be between $700 and $1,000 because they might ask for you to make a deposit for housing and hold your spot. So kind of that's their commitment. You have up until May 1st, as Ms. Marchante said, to make your final decision. But we have had students get pulled off wait lists as late as August, almost a week before classes started at the college. So it's kind of a hedge your bets if you know want to still hold your spot, but you're on the wait list. I wouldn't do that for more than one school. I mean, you don't want to put down deposits every place your student got into. Just the one where they really want to go, or holding a spot while you wait for a wait list. Um, so I think hopefully that helps.
Thank you. All right, so we're gonna switch gears and go to the FAFSA prototype. Let's go in there quickly. I should have it here. Here we go. Okay, so if you're familiar with FAFSA, this whole picture would have been completely green. They have added blue now. So this is again a prototype. They giving us, you know, some fictional students to launch. So I am going to launch as a student, and you'll also see the parents' information in there. As you see, this is the FSA ID. So this is what I was talking about earlier. The FSA ID is always the one point that you have to always submit, and at the end as well to sign. So we don't have that, we cannot move on. Now we get to this point. I really want to make sure that you know the difference between 2024 and 25. Right now, it's early enough. We understand. But as we move on into the year, I've noticed some students submitting the wrong form for the one that we're currently in. Okay, this one is open because those are the students that are applied for last year, and it's open until June. But we want to make sure the students know that they're actually starting fall 2024. And this is the file to submit, the form to submit. So click Start New Form. And I'm starting the form as a student. And then they give you a little video, and this one is not operable because I'm in a prototype, but it's nice for you to go through this and understand a little bit. All right, so now they give you the changes that have been made. What are contributors to the FAFSA form? Your answer on the FAFSA form will be determined if any contributors needs to be identified. These contributors will complete their own sections of the form and are asked to provide personal and financial information, but will not become financially responsible for your education. Contributors will need to log in with their own FSA ID to provide their information. To invite the contributors to your FAFSA form, you'll need to provide their name, date of birth, social security number, and email address. So imagine if a student is here with me completing the FAFSA by themselves, they'll need all this information from you in order to move on. Okay, so attending the workshop will be amazing because both of you will be here. Again, I can make an appointment with all of you, so student and parents, and then we can do this way as well. So what to expect? How long will this take? This is about an hour, and that's correct. The contributors will provide consent and approval for you to be eligible for federal student aid. With your consent and approval, we can obtain your federal tax information automatically from the IRS to help you complete the form. You can save the form and return to it later on. That's one thing that I would like to say about that. They have a secure system in the back end of the FAFSA. So IRS and FAFSA talk with each other and they bring in the information. That information is populated directly into the FAFSA and you don't have to do anything. We don't know exactly what to expect for this year because we really haven't gone through it yet. But just in case for the workshop or for any time that you want to fill out the FAFSA, make sure you have your own documentation from 2022 taxes in case we need to input them manually. So after submitting the FAFSA, after January 2024, your form will be processed within 3 days. So it takes about 3 days for the entire FAFSA to be processed. This is an important one. You will receive a FAFSA submission summary, which will include your SAI, so the number that they used, and hopefully a federal student aid eligibility, giving you an estimated amount of what you can use. So I am waiting from the federal government right now to give me the numbers of the SAI so I can manually figure it out, an estimate of how much federal Pell Grant a student can obtain. So that will be one way to do it before we get go on. So another thing I want to also say, let's say that you submit the FAFSA January 1st. You want to add in the FAFSA you have the possibility to add up to 20 universities that can receive the FAFSA form directly into their offices. However, because of the changes that is happening right now, the universities are not going to receive your FAFSA until about a month and a half later. So even if you submit the FAFSA January 1st and you want to double check with the university if they actually got it, there's no need to do it right away. You got to wait a little bit of a time because even if you call them, they're going to tell you that they don't have it. Okay, so it takes sometimes for them to load the data. And this is all because of the change that they've had. So don't worry, they'll receive it, but a little later. So they will create a financial aid offer. I would suspect that by mid-February, early March, you will receive some financial aid offers. If you don't know what that means, come to me and I can explain to you. And as you start the FAFSA form, and again today I'm not going to go through it because you will see on the PowerPoint I have laid out all the steps. But I will give you all the information, but this is an important thing to check. Make sure that your student has the right information from this, date of birth, social security, and the address. All right, so this is a type of consent for the student. If they were to work, they will have to file taxes. These are the type of approval that they need. Then special circumstance. So we go into all this type of questions, and the FAFSA menu will give you where you are. But of course, this is not available for me since it's a prototype. But at the top bar, at the top of the page, you will have different status on where you are located and what you're submitting at that moment. I would suggest that at every step you click save, use the save button, just in case you are either being disconnected with the internet or you're having an issue, you want to run quickly, do some errands, save it so you don't have to fill this out again. And it's important to try to submit this information within 45 days. As I understand, if you have not submitted it and you think, it's kind of like in idle, if you want, the whole form is deleted and you have to start again. So make sure that you complete it in one shot, if possible. So that way we are able to save this. Okay, I will stop presenting at this point. And do you have any questions quickly before we start? We leave for the day. Yes, if you have, you can bring 2 laptops so we can do it all in one. It's okay. But bring 2 laptops just to be on the safe side. Okay. Well, thank you so much. Always a pleasure. And have a good weekend. Bye-bye.